We have over 100,000 roundabouts in the UK alone. And on each roundabout per year, there are approximately 40 crashes on average. I'm going to show you how to not be one of those statistics. Welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me, I'm Josh, a driving instructor. I've been teaching people how to drive for over 5 years now, and in my time, I have been searching for the fastest way to teach someone how to do a roundabout. Now, the big problem we face with roundabouts is it requires us to do quite a few things very close together. And when you're first learning to drive, because it's not natural, this is where things are very likely to go wrong. And we can massively help ourselves by giving ourselves some extra time to think. And when you've been driving for a while, this is a really weird concept, because when you come to a roundabout, you've been driving for a few years, you don't think about anything, you just do it. So trying to explain that to another person, like, why can't you do this? What's wrong with you? It's completely foreign. It doesn't work. So now we're going to start with the very beginning of the roundabout, which is the approach to the roundabout, which just means coming up to the roundabout. So when we come up to a roundabout, the first thing we need to do is give ourselves that extra time. To do that, we approach the roundabout at a jogging speed. Now, don't worry about the other drivers. They know you are not going to be perfect, but at least you're going to be safe. What's better, fast and broken or slow and safe? Hopefully you're saying slow and safe. Now you're wondering, what the hell's a jogging speed, Josh? A jogging speed would be in second gear between 10 and 15 miles per hour, depending on the size of the roundabout. The smaller the roundabout, the slower you're going to approach. The larger the roundabout, you might go up to 15. Anything around this figure is going to be absolutely fine. Anything above 15, you're going to find you're panicking, you're running out of time, and something's going to go wrong quick. Now, you're going to want to start this process up to 10 seconds before the roundabout. It sounds like a hell of a lot, but that's the time you need when you're learning to drive to actually break everything down step by step. I've seen 2 roundabout signs, so this is my first big indicator that the roundabout's coming up. So nice and early from the roundabout, give myself loads of time. I'm checking my central left mirror because that's the way I'm planning to go, and I'm signaling left. Now all I'm doing is focusing on braking, slowing the car down to a jogging speed and getting into that second gear, because that's what's going to give me the time to know whether it's safe or not to carry on, or if I'm going to need to adjust. As I get around the back of this car, I can see there's space there. I haven't stopped, and there's no need to. There's loads of space, so I'm just going to carry on. Now, the big emphasis here is, as I say, slowing the car down to that jogging speed. If you don't get the car slow, it's game over, because you're not going to have time to make a decent decision whether or not it's safe to continue or you need to stop. By slowing the car down, you're buying yourself extra time to approach the roundabout to actually make a decent decision. Less time equals less judgment, more time equals better judgment. The next part is trying not to stop the car. That may sound confusing. What's the point in having a roundabout in the first place? Why not have crossroads everywhere? We have roundabouts to try and keep the flow of traffic. We're aiming to not have to stop the car as much as possible, which means even if cars are coming around that roundabout, you're still aiming to adjust your speed and slow down without having to fully stop the car, which again is going to make our life far easier on deciding if it's safe to go or not, which is what we would call judgment. So let's talk about that. Probably the most common reason people stop at roundabouts when they don't need to stop is because of judgment. And I'll give you an example. When you approach a roundabout, what do you look for? You're looking to the right. What are you looking for? I imagine 99% of you are thinking cars. Instead, we want to look for space. Now you're thinking, well, Josh, that's the same thing. No, it's not. When our brains are looking for cars, we're sitting there looking and searching for a car. When there's not a car there, this actually fries our brain, and our brain continues searching for a car. Where's the car? Where's the car? Where's the car? And then you end up stopping and you end up hesitating, looking for this car. Oh, there's a car miles down the road, so I better wait. Instead, when we search for space, we approach the roundabout, we skip a step. Is there a space there? Yes, there's a space. Carry on. Here's a perfect example of 2 cars approaching a roundabout. One's looking for space and one's looking for cars. The one on the left has seen that there is a space, so they're carrying on. The one on the right has just seen a big fat lorry and thought, no mate, no chance. But as you saw, the one on the left had loads of time to carry on. When you train your brain to look for space instead of cars, you are far more likely to carry on at the roundabout and not hesitate and stop. When we look for cars, it's almost like an extra step in the recipe, you know? You've put that extra step in, mix the flour for 10 minutes. Well, you don't need to mix the flour for 10 minutes, just skip that one out. Let's move straight on. So, big bit of advice, when you go to roundabouts, junctions, always look for space, not for cars. Let me know in the comments, are you a car spotter or do you look for space? And then the next part is car position. When we're looking to the right, we're trying to figure out, is it safe for us to go? There's a car coming. And this is all dependent on where the car that's coming is positioned. If you can see a car on the outside lane coming around the roundabout, they're going to be exiting where you are entering the roundabout. This means it's going to be safe for you to go. If there's any car, however, hugging the roundabout, this means they're probably going to be passing your exit, which means you are going to need to adjust for them to pass before you can carry on. If you're learning lots about roundabouts and you want lots more information about learning to drive, have a look at my online driving course just here. It's got everything you need to pass your driving test, and it's only the price of one driving lesson. Okay, now we're moving on to getting on the roundabout. Where do we drive? And I'm going to use a quick example for this. If you've ever played darts, where would you look at the dartboard? Where specifically? Most people are either going to look at the big red bullseye dart in the middle, or they're going to be looking at the triple 20. Why? Because that's where they want to hit. Now imagine you start talking to your mate and start trying to throw darts at the dartboard. Where are you going to expect those darts to go? Don't ask me, I have no idea. They're going to go friggin' everywhere, aren't they? And why is that? Well, basically, your eyes are the target and your hands are the controllers. Your hands will go where your eyes are looking. Same as jogging. When you're jogging down the road, where do you look? You look as far down the road as you can. Driving is exactly the same. Really common mistake that people make is they carry on looking right as they're pulling into the roundabout. Here's a quick example for you. As I'm approaching the roundabout, look where I'm looking. I'm starting to glance to the right. I can see space, looking, keep glancing all the way to the white line. Get to the white line, where do my eyes bounce to? Straight ahead. I need to look where I'm going, otherwise the car's either going to go left or it's going to go right. Instead, the second you cross that white line, you need to be looking exactly where you want the car to go, which is not directly at the roundabout. And this is one of the most common mistakes that people make when they start pulling out onto roundabouts. They stare to the right for so long that they end up nearly driving into the roundabout. How do we avoid this? Well, first of all, never stare in any direction apart from where you're going. And if you need to check for space on the right, make sure you're glancing, not staring. Staring bad, glancing good. The other mistake that people sometimes make is they're either looking at the dash because they're worried about getting the bite, or they're looking at their feet. Or they do carry on staring to the right because actually they're focused very much on their feet and trying to get the bite and making sure a car's not coming. If this is you and you're worried about getting the bite at the roundabout, my biggest bit of advice would be ditch the roundabouts, find a big hill or some junctions, nice quiet junctions, and focus on learning to get the bite until you can comfortably get off reasonably quickly before coming back to the roundabouts. Because otherwise it's going to take you 10 times as long to learn the roundabouts. So now we're entering the roundabouts, let's talk about where are the danger zones on the roundabout. Think about where is the most danger for you while you're on that roundabout. Well, the most dangerous part for you is going to be actually entering the roundabout because you are crossing lanes. Once you've actually started turning around the roundabout, you've joined the flow of traffic. You are just now going round in a circle. And once you're on there, no one's going to pull out on you, so you essentially own the roundabout. So with that, how do we get out of that danger zone as quickly as possible? Well, what we normally do is as we enter the roundabout, we give that gas a little bit of poke, meaning we accelerate into the roundabout, just until we start going around the roundabout and then we ease back off. We just join the flow of traffic. This gets us out of the danger zone as quickly as possible and into the flow with the traffic. Great, now what? Well, how's a roundabout shaped? It's shaped like a big circle, which is very similar to a bend. And what do we do around bends? We brake before the bend, we maintain around the bend, and we accelerate out the bend. So once you get onto the roundabout, we maintain around the roundabout, keeping our speed at that jogging speed. Then as we exit, we can poke a little bit of gas. Now, as I say, if everyone else is doing 15 miles per hour on the roundabout, you should be aiming to do something similar. If it's a far smaller roundabout, everyone's doing 10, then you do the same. There is no one size fits all on roundabouts because there's so many different shapes and sizes. What is really important is if you're not comfortable on the roundabout and everyone else is doing 20 miles on the roundabout, there is nothing wrong with you going a little bit slower and keeping it at 15, particularly if you're having to focus on things like staying in your lane or where the hell you're supposed to be going. Because as I said at the beginning of the video, everything that I talked about comes back to time. You need time to think. You need time to think. Do you know what really goes well with roundabouts? Road markings. So if you've got 5 more minutes and you want to see a bit more of this mug, then watch this video here about road markings and I promise you won't be sorry. And as always, thank you for your time. It has been a pleasure. Want this t-shirt? Josh TDI. Boom!